Okay, Aston Villa are very close to administration because of debt. However, their agreement with the tax office, the HM Revenue and Customs, HMRC, they've agreed to pay 1.2 million by the end of the week. They've already paid £500,000 within the last 24 hours. However, that's still less or equivalent to about half their tax debt to the government, the taxes that are owed by the club to the tax office, the HM Revenue and Customs. That's not including their other outstanding debts to other creditors. Now, what's also interesting is Tony Xia is the owner. He's owned the club now for near on 2 years. He hired Keith Wyness to be chief executive. He's now suspended Keith Wyness as the chief executive. Big issue here with Aston Villa. They've gambled a lot of money. They spent a lot of money on players and players' wages to get back into the Premier League. They haven't. They lost the playoff final to Fulham 1-0. In the aftermath of that, John Terry, who was club captain this year, who was brought in by Steve Bruce from Chelsea, has left. Steve Bruce's position is under threat, and they may be forced to sell players such as Jack Grelish, who's a very young, talented player. Some of the players that are at Aston Villa now were signed when they were in the Premier League, or signed contract extensions, so Gabby Agbonlahor, Jack Grelish. They're on Premier League money in the Championship. I think their profits are down like 140 to 160 million less profit. So they're making less money because they can't afford to charge Premier League prices for the Championship. We know that. So their gate receipts are down. Attendance is still reasonably good at Villa, but there are a lot more empty seats than there were when they were struggling in the Premier League. Average attendance is down, so that's an issue. It's revenue from match days. And they owe a lot of money to a lot of people. Now, Tony Xia bought the club of the previous owners, so part of the issue is with the previous ownership as well, and how the club is run behind the scenes, and there have been questions raised with the running of the club. Tony Xia may be forced to sell. Now, they could sell some players such as Jack Grelish, Gabby Agbonlahor. Now, Gabby Agbonlahor has been at the club since he was a kid. Jack Grelish has been at the club since he was a kid. So they're both Aston Villa youth products. Now, Aston Villa is one of the biggest and best supported clubs in the country in the sense that it's an established team. It's a founder of the Football League that goes back a long way. They play their games, obviously, in Birmingham. So for those who are not familiar with where Aston Villa are from around the world, they play in Birmingham, our second city here in the UK, the second biggest population area in the UK after London. So that's a big fan base and a big population area to have your fan base from. I mean, you've got to compete with a few other local clubs that also have large sections of the local population supporting them, but there is a fan base there that can be tapped into. There are questions about the running of the club, and not only the current ownership, but previous owners as well, and the structures they put in place that have led to the relegation from the Premier League, the buying of the club to the current ownership, and the situation they are in now. They spent a lot of money to try and get back into the Premier League. It hasn't worked. Even then, there are questions, if they had got back into the Premier League, would they have enough money to be competitive enough? Would they be able to stay up? Etc, etc. Obviously, the players did their best and lost on the day at Fulham. They got into the playoff places, which was, I think, a minimum requirement, and they came up short. Now, playoff football is like that. Sometimes a team that's been very, very good in the season, may have finished third in the Championship, may not make it promoted to the Premier League. The team that finishes 6th or 7th end up getting promoted to the Premier League. That's the downside of playoff football. Is the third best team in the Championship doesn't always get promoted into the Premier League because of the knockout nature of the games in the playoffs. There is no perfect playoff system. Now, what's happening with Villa, we don't know. They've got a stay of execution with HM Revenue and Customs. They're paying off the tax debt. It's the other debts that are going to cause a lot of problems. And the creditors can, with legal action, take them to a debtors court, into a civil court, and say we are owed money, and send bailiffs round. In theory, that's the layman's term. The people who are owed the debt by Aston Villa can still, under legal means, try and get their money, which can lead to administration or liquidation. We've seen many clubs have financial difficulties over the years, both in England, Scotland, and on the continent, and in South America. Many clubs in many leagues, not just football but other sports as well, have had hit the financial wall and have desperately fought to stay alive. some clubs, sadly, are no longer with us. Aston Villa are sort of in a danger zone, but they're not in catastrophic danger that the media is reporting. If they've managed to agree to pay off some of their tax debt to HMRC and Customs, they get some breathing space. Bolton were there not that long ago. And are still have issues themselves, but they're working their way out of it. Other clubs have been here before. Plymouth, Portsmouth, Coventry. The list goes on and on and on. It's not just a Villa issue, it's an issue that I think is a bigger issue with football. However, with that stay of execution by HMRC and Customs and a deal in place, this may ease some of the pressure. If they are to sell some of their players, I think Jack Grelish probably gets sold. Even though he stated he is a Villa fan through and through, he wants to play for the club. But even then, I think he knows the writing could be on the wall for him and his Villa career. I think a Premier League club will be mad not to snap him up. Villa have to be careful how much they ask, but that could go some way to paying off some of the debts. Other players may also be sold. Obviously, they're going to have to look at what the future holds. Can they be competitive enough to try and get to the playoffs again next year? And those extra couple of games is extra money in the pocket of Aston Villa Football Club. And if they do get the playoff final, that's prize money. They get through. Same with direct promotion, first or second. That is, again, league finishing prize money. That also helps. The parachute payments, they're changing. Are just not enough to cover the losses that Villa are now suffering out of the Premier League, because their business model was set up to be a Premier League club, and the prize money received for league position in the Premier League is higher than league position in the Championship. That's their business model as a Premier League club in the Championship. They haven't got a plan B business model if they were to get relegated, which they did. The previous owners didn't have that in place. The current ownership doesn't have that in place. They gambled everything. They bet the house getting back into the Premier League. And this is a danger that a lot of clubs will now face. It doesn't matter if it's getting relegated out of the Premier League, getting relegated out of Championship, League One or League Two. A lot of clubs at various levels of the football pyramid gamble on getting back up as soon as they get relegated. And a lot of them, you just have to look at the clubs that fall out of League Two or League One and those that end up in the Conference, for example. Teams like Tranmere and Luton have been a long road back. They're on the way back. Other teams like Chester City gone out of business. It happens, even to the smallest and biggest. Torquay United are on the verge of going out of business as well. This is not just a Villa problem. These are smaller clubs in fan base and club age and club success, but it's happening up and down the football pyramid. Our clubs are dying. It's more widespread than the FA would like us to know, and the Football League and the Premier League. It's a far bigger issue than the governing bodies of the sport in this country would want us to know and be aware of, but it's there. I'm going to leave that there. It's been a longer video than normal because it is. I don't know enough about the full Villa situation, but I do know that they have agreed to pay taxes, and the Grealish rumours, they're going to continue while the transfer window is open. He will probably get sold before too long. I think either during the World Cup or just after, he will probably get sold to a Premier League club. He might even end up in one of the European leagues if one of the European clubs is willing to take a chance on him. He's still reasonably young. He's still in his early 20s. He's a very talented youngster. He still needs to develop his game a little bit and become the all-round player. But he's got quick feet. He's good with the ball. He's got a bit of pace. He's got a bit of skill. I think his tracking back and defensive work needs work. But with the right coaches, hey, that could be a way for Aston Villa to pay off at least some of their debts. But the future doesn't look great. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. I want to hear from Villa fans, because I'm assuming Villa fans will probably be more in the know than me. I'm only getting what I can get off the internet, and I do take some of these sources with a pinch of salt, because there is no consistency on how much the club actually owes. Each source is different, but what is confirmed is the tax debt, and that's somewhere to start. And if they've agreed with HMRC and Customs to pay off the debt in instalments of the owed tax, that is a sign that they're giving that breathing space for 6 months, a year, however long it may be, and that may be enough to help the club see through this difficult period. Finite margins. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you are a Villa fan, I would like to hear your views on what's happening to your club. If you are a football fan in general, there are other clubs out there with similar issues that Villa are having. They're not alone. So it doesn't matter who you support, be it in the UK or outside of the UK. I'll be very interested to hear what other fans think. and I'll have some more videos for you soon. Thank you very much for watching.